Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Week 10 edition of the Coach McVay Show, presented by Microsoft Surface. I'm JV Long with my friend and colleague DeMarco Farr and the head coach of your Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay. SoFi Stadium this Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. The Rams are 3-5, and Sean, in our 6 years together, this is unprecedented.
Yes.
Circumstances that none of us are fond of, but I'm looking forward to seeing where you take it from here.
Yeah, and that's all we can do, JB, is just be able to move forward the right way. And these things, you know, that adversity provides an opportunity to be able to handle things in the way that you would want to. You know, it's easy to be able to say all these things when you don't go through adversity, but when you're actually in the midst of it, are you going to be able to stay consistent? Are you going to stay connected as a group? Are you going to continue to communicate at the right level? Are you going to have the process that's in alignment with trying to obtain the things that we want to see come to life on Sundays or whenever we play? And I've seen that from our guys. I see disappointed guys. I see guys that it matters a whole lot to, players and coaches alike. But we're going to continue to go to work. We're going to try to look for these solutions, and we're going to try to do everything we can to try to help our players play better football and ultimately, get some of these results that we're more accustomed to having.
Isn't that why we do what we do? I mean, because we love this game, but it could be so cruel, but you got to get over it to move on to next week.
Yeah, that's exactly right, DeMarco. And that's the thing that's great about sports is there's so many life lessons that you can learn as it relates to, hey, how do I be a better teammate that translates to being a better family member? How do I be a better father and husband, being able to handle these types of things? And, sports teaches you so many different life lessons that are about how to handle the ebbs and flows that inevitably occur, whether it be in sports or in life. And it just so happens that you're doing it right in front of the public eye. And this is what we signed up for, and it's not just all the good stuff. You got to be able to handle, some of the challenging moments, and for that, I do choose to, try to be grateful to respond the right way, the way that my grandfather would, or the way that my dad would want me to, that would make him proud. And those are the kind of things that you really have to have the appropriate perspective and apply it. And then you just go back to work, like you said. The only thing that helps solve that pit in your gut after you lose the way that you do to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday is to say, let's close the book on that. Let's correct the things that need to be corrected. And then let's shift our focus and concentration towards the Cardinals. And that's where we're at right now.
The sentiment that you left us with last night was that changes have to be made.
Yep.
As of 24 hours later, are you able to share with us tonight any of the potential changes that you're considering?
I think we're still working through that, and when I say changes need to be made, I mean, that's everything as it relates to possibly scheme. Do we explore giving a couple other guys an opportunity? Do we make some adjustments in that regard? But you want to be able to apply the appropriate perspective relative to, all right, how do we want to attack the Cardinals? Who's healthy and who's even available? And then what are some of the things that we can do schematically that give us opportunities to have, more consistent success at the rate that we're accustomed to?
Yeah, this ain't college. You just can't play a bunch of freshmen and start over, right?
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do. I'm glad that you give your players a voice. I heard what Jalen said.
Yeah.
I feel him. I don't feel for him. This is the job. This is the NFL. You got to go out there and get stops. That's just what it is. But to be able to say you're frustrated, I think that's great. Because if you don't, it festers. And you have a bunch of fights on the practice field or, God forbid, in the lunchroom. But you got to let that stuff out. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad he followed your lead on that.
Yeah, you know what? He's passionate, DeMarco, and he wants what's right. And he's consistent in terms of that passion that he exudes day in and day out, game in and game out. And whether that be wanting the offensive guys to expect to be able to finish that drive with a first down so that we don't have to go back out on the grass defensively. And it's no different than when he's challenging his defensive teammates or when he's responding from different moments in the right way. And so I know where he's coming from, and I know it comes from the right place and the right intentions of trying to lead and trying to bring guys with him the best that he can so that they have the expectations of let's go expect to go close this out with the confidence that we should have and that we can have. And so that's where I never took that the wrong way. And he and I had a great conversation today, and I'm excited about the way that he's going to lead and keep moving forward and keep challenging guys in the ways that bring out the best in them.
What are some of your coaching points and takeaways from the way that game did finish and the chances that you did have? Maybe starting with Cooper Kupp's decision to take that jet sweep and stay inbounds, which looked and felt like the right decision in real time. Did it seem that way on film too?
I think so. I mean, you look at it and, maybe you say if you feel like you've got the ability to truly circle the defense and get a first down in the midst of going out of bounds, that's okay. There are certain scenarios when you're in that 4-minute offensive procedure where you're saying, hey, we'd rather run off the 40 seconds on the play clock or, force them to be able to use a timeout if they still have that left. But I think it was the right, based on the way that the pursuit was coming from an inside out, it would have probably been hard for him to get that first down. Maybe could have gotten a few more yards. We just say, hey, let's not give ourselves up. We'll dive head forward. We'll dive, falling forwards as opposed to kind of giving ourselves up based on where they end up spotting that. But, you can always look at those things in hindsight, JB, but I don't think you do that any differently. And the confidence that I did have in our defense, of course, you want to be able to convert and do those types of things. Would there be different scenarios and situations in previous years where you'd be a little bit more aggressive with the type of 3rd down and 5 call that you activate? Yes, but I do think there's certain things that you always want to look at, and I think the feel for the flow of the game and what we felt like gave us the best chance of, hey, did we want to be able to do that? Yes. But would you maybe activate a pass play that's maybe a higher percentage conversion in previous scenarios and situations? Probably so, but the way that game had unfolded and the way that our defense was playing, we felt like that was the best decision in the midst of it, and it didn't work out, and that's the accountability and the responsibility that I have to bear.
On that cut play, I didn't know. They spot you where you start the slide.
Yeah.
So your coaching point would be dive forward.
100%.
Pick up the yards.
And that was something that we had kind of talked about based on the way the Carolina game ended up finishing up, if you can remember. And so those will be things that we'll learn from.
And I texted JB, I hate the word if, because if he picks up that first down, Ben Skoranek is a hero. He blocked 3 guys on that play.
Yeah.
You got the corner on that. So that's what I mean. That's what I meant by if. If you pick that up, this is a whole different week. So give me that pillow. I want to punch something.
I know, right? Me too.
What about taking the play clock all the way down before punting it? I mean, is there a value to having a timeout in your pocket on defense in case Brady gets into that mode where he's locking in your defensive personnel?
I think so. There's definitely a couple opportunities where you say you'd like to be able to save those timeouts that I ended up using. And so without a doubt, there's responsibility and there's things that I have to learn from to be better in terms of the overall game management.
When the Bucs bring their punt team on, though, and then switch back to their offense in that 4th down situation, do the officials owe you a chance to get organized defensively and stand over the ball like they would have if the Bucs substituted offensively?
They do, and then in a lot of instances, based on, when they came out, the call that we make, do we really feel good about it? And sometimes that dialogue is you feel like, hey, this play is so of the utmost importance that we felt like using a timeout in that scenario would be better to really be able to gather ourselves together, kind of get a snapshot of what they were anticipating, and if they came out in the same thing, and if it's different, kind of got an all-purpose type of answer. And so that was kind of what led to that there.
And your running game, signs of life. I thought Darrell Henderson had a few good pops there.
Yeah, I thought so too. There just weren't enough plays overall to really be able to get off, and a lot of that was a result of not being as efficient on 3rd downs. But to be able to get those back-to-back runs where you go 10 and you go 23, that was encouraging. I thought he ended up pressing it, did a nice job, and I thought we were able to get some pretty good removal. And then there were some instances where it can be better, but there were some signs of life, as you mentioned.
Any help back this week, be it Coleman Shelton or Jordan Fuller or anyone on the horizon?
Yeah, there's a chance that you get Coleman Shelton back this week, which would be big, really important. I thought he's really played well with the opportunities he's had this year, JB, and so if we are able to get him back, that would provide definitely a boost to the offensive line.
David Edwards has to sit at least one more,
Still
correct?
one more for David.
But progressing well from the concussions?
He is. He's making good progress.
What did we say to Riley Dixon? Great game? We saw you too much?
Yeah,
I mean, you got to
definitely. You see him way too much. The times you want to see him is as a holder.
Yeah,
so,
no doubt.
We've seen too much of him this year in general. DeMarco, not something that we like. But I thought with the I thought he did a good job with those opportunities that he had.
No doubt. So I still believe in the we not me. It's still alive. It is what it is. You are where you are. But I just hate when you pick apart. They played great. We didn't, because it's still one football team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. I still think it's important while we win and lose as a team. The thing that's so unique about football is 11 guys are out on the field, with the 3 different phases on separate times. So there's a clear-cut differentiation of, all right, what's going on during that course, or during that part of the game. Now, there is no doubt about it that we want to play complementary football. We haven't done a good enough job of that. What do I mean by that? All right, well, if the offense or the defense gets a turnover, offense turns that into points. If the offense turns the football over in a sudden change, does the defense get a stop? So there's a lot of different ways that complementary football can unfold. But what I do think is important is when you have a game like yesterday where I don't think anybody in our locker room would disagree that, hey, we could have closed the game out better, no doubt about it, on defense, but they played well enough on the defensive side of the ball for us to be able to win that game as a team. And offensively, it wasn't quite up to the standards that we have to be able to win the football game. And so I think it's important to be able to acknowledge that. You know, you have to be truthful. As you know, DeMarco, you got to be truthful with these guys and honest with the assessment, but also emphasize the importance of staying connected in these moments where the outside world will try to divide and try to create some of that disconnect that can inevitably occur if you're not cognizant and careful about it. And the we not me thing is real. It's something that we emphasize, and it's not just in the good times. It's more importantly in the bad times, and we're going through some of those challenging moments right now. But I trust the character of our locker room. I trust the character of our coaching staff and the people to be able to move forward the right way. And I think that we're going to figure out a way to get out of this rut and play better football as a team, and particularly on the offensive side of the ball. I refuse to think anything else.
With the leadership of your captains, how about what Bobby Wagner did on teams, jumping over the snapper there to block that field goal?
Awesome. Yeah, that's it's old hat for him. I've seen that movie before in Seattle, and so he's a great player, great human, great leader, and fortunate to have Bobby with us.
The rule is you can hop, you just can't run up and hop.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean that's a hell of a box jump. Man.
Yeah, and you can't use yourself to prop over guys. It was Bobby being Bobby
without making contact. Yeah, super athlete.
Sean, I don't think Rams fans were surprised to see him make another change at offensive line, maybe the fact that it was at right guard, not left guard. But what went into that decision, and how do you think Chandler Brewer did in his first NFL start?
I thought he did a nice job. You know, ultimately it was as simple as, you know, what did we think was going to give us the best opportunity to be able to play as well as we could and as efficiently and effectively as we could on the line. And so I thought he did a really nice job. It's a pretty cool story for a guy that ended up going through cancer, responding the right way, ends up sitting out the COVID year because of some of the complications from that, works his way back and does a nice job. And, you know, he might get another opportunity this week, but I was really pleased with Chandler, and he's got a passion, he's got a toughness, and he did a really good job yesterday.
Did we do the injury report? Because I think the only guy that went in was Alaric Jackson, but he came back out.
He did. He came back. You know, he got a little bit of a knee sprain, but Ty Nseki came in, did a nice job for the few snaps until we got big AJ back out there. But it seems like AJ's doing okay.
You mentioned earlier about the possibility of working in some new personnel in whatever form that takes. How do you handle the tension between earning it in practice in the film room, right? Like them dictating to you when it's time to flip that switch versus, hey, sooner or later we might just have to see what it looks like under the lights because these are players we've drafted and invested in.
Yeah, I think it's really a product of, you know, giving guys an opportunity, being open-minded, JB, you know, and sometimes our hand's been forced on those things where you get an opportunity to see guys shine that, you know, hey, you got to play because this guy's gotten injured and this is, you know, what we're down to. And so that's where some of the good things have occurred. It's harder as you get later on in the season to be able to create those real opportunities to evaluate if you haven't already done it up to that point. But it's a give and take, and it's a challenging balance that we always work through week in and week out.
And receiver might be one of those positions when you look at, look, I know preseason's preseason, but Lance McCutcheon made some plays that you could see translating to Sundays, or Tutu Atwell. You know, he's had one big play this season, but inactive yesterday. Those types
you
of
talk
examples.
about those things all the time, you know, and especially as some guys are working themselves back, and what does it really look like to give us the most competitive and what we feel like is the best lineup relative to the 48 guys that you can have up on game day.
Allen Robinson has some great snags on game day.
Catch rate,
good stuff.
Crazy.
Big body receiver. You don't have to change your goals or anything right now. I mean, your goals are still the same from training camp on. Everything is still in front of you.
Yeah, everything's still in front of us, but I think, and there's no doubt about it, but the focus and concentration, whether we're 7-1, whether you're 3-5, whether you're 8-0, remains the same. Continue to focus on getting better, stacking blocks, and then try to put that all together with the game times that you're allotted 1 week at a time. And that's really where we're at. And where what I think is an important focal point for us is, how do we play more consistent? How do we start to play better, particularly offensively? How do we capitalize on some of the opportunities where we can even be, really sharp defensively? How do we play more consistent on teams? And how do we have a process that is weekly in alignment with, that daily improvement that we're hunting up and having standards that are, higher than what we've seen as of late?
Do you think the fourth quarter struggles are anything unique or apart from the dynamics we've talked about all season on this show, or do you think it's just kind of when the lights are the brightest and when the rubber really meets the road?
I think it's just kind of how it's unfolded. I don't know that I could put my finger on any sort of particular reason. I think we've just got to finish better. I think we got to close out games better. Yesterday was a perfect illustration of that, and I think they're all kind of their own separate entity, JB. But yesterday it was clearly glaring that we didn't finish good enough, and that's why we're sitting here at 3-5 instead of 4-4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I took a picture of it. That's that fourth down stop. I thought that's the one that could be the spark. It still can be the spark. I mean, you can take that, like you said, and move it to next week and take it out on them.
Yeah.
I mean, what else? What choice do you have?
You have no other choice. That's it.
I like that.
It does feel like the second week in a row where you're facing an opponent that's swimming in very similar waters as you are, though. There was kind of an air of desperation at Tampa with where their season was, and here comes Arizona coming off a loss to the Seattle Seahawks and banged up on their offensive line, too.
Yeah, no, it's this league, there's a lot of different variables, especially for teams that maybe this is unexpected based on the expectations that they had going into it. And there's so many different layers to it. That's why people love football, because it's so unpredictable and so many things change week in and week out. A new story, a new narrative is written every single week. We've just got to be able to stay together and figure out how do we try to attack a division opponent with the right enthusiasm, the right hard work to be able to, hopefully play better football and get the result that we're hunting up.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good right now. I can tell it's killing you right now. You want to get back in the win column.
Yes.
Just to finish, DeMarco and I haven't had a chance to extend our condolences to you and your family for the loss of your grandfather. I know the imprint he left on you personally and professionally, and we saw it in your words last week. So it had to be a tough week on and off the field. Looking forward to
it was
better.
challenging, but I appreciate you saying that. It was really cool to see the amount of people that reached out that he touched in the right way. And when you do go through some of this adversity, it's easy to think about, what made my grandfather so special was the way that he treated people, the consistency that he operated with, not in the good times, but also in some of the adverse moments. And that's really what it's about. I'm not minimizing how important it is to strive to be a great competitor and to try to get the results that we want. But in life, how you handle these things is really what I believe is the great separator. And my grandfather was as good as anybody about being able to use setbacks as setups for comebacks and have the appropriate perspective in everything that he did.
We certainly have enjoyed following you and your team's success in the good times. Looking forward to many more of those to come. DeMarco, thank you. Sean, appreciate your time. Have a great week ahead, and we'll see you at SoFi for the Arizona Cardinals in Week 10. This has been the Coach McVay Show, presented by Microsoft Surface.